on YouTube as well. So what's up, Instagram? Hey, YouTube, let's get this thing together. Oh, this is always helpful. Whoop. See, I had to have had things good and ready to go just in case I had this screen off on YouTube. So y'all had to get a little black screen for a second. So we're talking through affordability. So we posted on our Instagram something about how we have pushed through so many different things, right? The reason why we found success, and a lot of people may have really had a similar or the same journey as us and didn't make it, is because we kept going, right? But in the comments, someone was like, well, make sure that you are even open to taking losses to making sure that there's affordable housing options on the market. And although we have done that or gone above and beyond, we and you and other investors, you don't have to take a loss in order to create affordable housing opportunities, right? You don't have to take a loss along that process, because at the end of the day, when you're really looking to add value in these neighborhoods, you have to make sure that you are really financially viable, right? You're able to do that. And if you aren't, if you're not positioned financially to be able to continue on, what are you doing? You're creating short-term solutions. You need to be in a place to make long-term change, long-term impact, right? So I wanted to come on and talk to you all about one of the ways you make that long-term impact is through information and through education, right? So even in how we're able to make sure that we're sharing a lot of conversations. So you don't have to take less for anyone, get your money, right? So that's one part of the conversation, right? Because you can't pour from an empty glass. And so you want to make sure that you are in a place always of financial viability. When you have a nonprofit, run a nonprofit, work with nonprofits, there's a whole different conversation on how you structure those things. But here's one of the big pieces is taking advantage of things that are already out there, right? So there's a few things that are already out there that I want to make sure that you guys know, so that y'all know, your friends know, your family knows, all your people know what's good and what's really going on. And so there's two things, two different programs, and it's something I had actually shared with Next Gen. I was mentioning Next Gen. So if any of my Next Gen folks are in the chat, make sure you hashtag Next Gen Takeover, say what's up. But there is a program that we talk about often when we're doing development to make sure people know and understand what's going on. There's a program called the Homestead Tax Credit. So somebody put like a 2 in the chat if you've heard about the Homestead Tax Credit. So there's a Homestead Tax Credit, which is a program that is in Maryland. You also find it in other states around the country. But the Homestead Tax Credit is a tax credit that actually was scheduled to say lots of 2s on YouTube. That's awesome. What's up, Next Gen Takeover? What's popping on Instagram? So the Homestead Tax Credit was actually, typically applications are due by October 1st. They are now extending that deadline to October 31st. And so now is a really great time to make sure that you guys know and understand what the Homestead Tax Credit is, why it matters, why it's important, and how you can make sure. Next Gen Takeover on YouTube too, what up? And so make sure that you know and understand how to share the opportunity and what's going on, so that you, your friends, your family, people up the block from areas that you're developing know how to take advantage of the opportunity. Cool? All right. So there's actually 2 types of the Homestead Tax Credit. So one is for homeowners. And so the homeowners tax credit means that, let's say I buy a property for $20,000 and I renovate it, and now it's worth $250,000, right? Well, let's remember, when we think about gentrification and affordability, a lot of times the challenges that people have around keeping their homes, keeping their ability to own property is the taxes, right? We talk about this all the time. The taxes increase because property values increase. And now, folks are no longer able to afford to live in the home because they were used to paying, $200 a year in taxes, and now their taxes increased to $2,500, right? So the homestead tax credit, what it does is it actually limits how much your taxes can increase based on your increase in assessed tax value, right? So what's assessed tax value? So your property is assessed from a tax basis to figure out, okay, well, how much is your property worth? They look at, market data, how much things are selling around the area, and it creates a basis for how much you're paying taxes on, right? So if your taxes are $100,000 in Baltimore City, there's a tax rate of 2.36% is how much you're paying in taxes. So if you have a $100,000 home at that 2.36 percent tax rate, you're going to be paying $2,360 per year in taxes, right? Your property is worth $100,000. The combined tax rate, city and state, is 2.36. So your taxes are $2,360 a year. Cool? Y'all following? Somebody let me know. Hit some hearts or something if you're following the math. Okay? So with the homestead tax credit for homeowners, what it does is that says that your taxes increase by 10% each year. Your property taxes can increase by 10% each year based on your assessed value and change on assessed value, okay? So let's say this property is on the same block that we're doing our renovation, right? And so because we did a huge, it can be very costly. Because we did a big renovation, let's say now the property that used to be worth $100,000 is now worth $200,000, right? So we did a development that raised the property values in that whole neighborhood, which gives folks an opportunity to build wealth, right? This property that was worth $100,000 is now worth $200,000. That's great. But if the homeowner, let's say, is on fixed income because they've been living there for generations and they're relying on Social Security or a pension to pay their bills, that increase in value then results in an increase in taxes. And so what the homestead tax credit does is it limits how much your property taxes can increase. So remember, we have this 2.36% tax rate. So if the property value increases from $100,000 to $200,000, you're going to go from $2,360 of your taxes per year to $4,720 of taxes per year, right? That's a big difference, right? That's a big difference. So rather than having that increase and jump from one to the other, it limits that increase to only 10%. So rather than paying $4,720 through the homestead tax credit, your taxes could go up only to $2,596. Okay, let me say that again. Your original taxes when your property is worth $100,000, $2,360. Your property value increases because I did a flip on the block, or I did 2, or I did 3, right? Your property values increase because I'm adding value to the neighborhood. And so that's adding value and raising the assessed value of property. And so the property value increases from $100,000 to $200,000, which means the taxes also increase from $2,300 to $4,720. Well, if you apply for the homestead tax credit, your taxes only increase instead of $2,360 to $4,720 to $2,596. Okay? Education and providing information is a form of making sure that people can stay in their neighborhoods. When we talk about legacy, okay, yeah, I couldn't afford to pay an extra $2,000, $2,500, but I can afford to pay an extra $200 that's going to be spread over 12 months, right, as part of my mortgage payment, right? So the homestead tax credit for homeowners is huge when it comes to making sure legacy residents are able to stay and afford to stay in their neighborhoods. And so that huge difference, exactly. So that is one of the homestead tax credit options. So again, typically the application process for the homestead tax credit is up on October 1st. In Maryland, Governor Hogan just announced that they are extending the deadline to October 31st. So those who are having these assessed values change, and you only have to apply once. You only have to apply once. So those who have are in neighborhoods, you have family in neighborhoods where things are changing, darn near if you anywhere in Baltimore, in the city, depending on what's going on, you want to make sure that your friends, your family, your neighbors, these people know that this homestead tax credit had an extension from October 1st to October 31st, to make sure that as things are changing, especially in a city like Baltimore, where we are literally having, these record-breaking months. We had the hottest month in the market in August 2020. Last month was the hottest Baltimore market that we've had since August of 2010. And so there are tons of areas where we're seeing properties flying off the market. Days on market are super low. We have tons of instances where property values are shooting up. So we want to make sure that people are aware. So no, we don't have to take a loss on every house to keep things affordable. We also can make sure that people are educated. Okay, so that's number one. Number one was the homestead tax credit for homeowners. The second one that a lot of people really don't know about is for renters. For renters. So the logic is, as a renter, the state says that about 15% of the rent that you pay per year is going towards your landlord's taxes, right? They're saying about 15% of what you pay in rent per year is going to go towards your landlord's taxes. And so the same logic, as properties increase in value, so does the taxes for your landlord, knowing that your landlord's going to have to increase your rent to cover the cost of the taxes, right? Common sense, right? You have to be able to cover your expenses. And so what the homestead tax credit for renters does is basically provide, rather than the homestead tax credit where it's a credit on your taxes, the state of Maryland actually writes a check to tenants based on how much they're paying rent, and that backs into how much their income is. And so the state of Maryland actually has a chart that says, okay, based on your income, right? How much is your max for how much you should be paying out of your rent towards taxes? And then they have a calculation for how much you're paying per year in rent to figure out how much the state of Maryland will give you essentially as a rebate towards your taxes. Towards your a rebate towards your rent. And so again, talking about affordability, as prices go up, rents go up, people can no longer afford to live in these neighborhoods. Well, we want legacy residents to stay. We feel like folks from around the way like to walk their dogs and ride bikes too. So we're going to stay right there in that same hood when they bring in Wegmans and wherever else into the neighborhood, because we like fresh food too. And so the homestead tax credit for renters, although in the grand scheme of things, it may not seem like a ton of money, right? The max that they'll give is $1,000. But again, it's something to help with that affordability. And it's an opportunity each year to be able to get this money, right? The system's built, let's take advantage of it. So here's an example, right? So let's say someone makes $45,000 per year. They make $45,000 per year. And let's say they pay $1,000 per month in rent, which again, for us, right, we're going to look and make sure that someone makes at least 3 times the rent as their monthly gross income. And so if you're making $45,000 per year, you're making about $3,700 a month in income. So $1,000 per month in rent is actually feasible, right? As a scenario. So if you make $45,000 a year and you're paying $1,000 per month in rent, you could get a check from the city for $425 as a rebate for your rent. So that might not seem like a whole lot, right? But let's say you're making and doing that application in October, you're getting that check by November, December, right? You're getting $425 right before the holidays, right? Consider that your gift. So there are these types of opportunities. And again, if you guys are just joining, the Homestead Tax Credit, those options are, or the deadline to apply to get those funds either as a homeowner or as a renter was extended from October 1st to October 31st, right? So we don't have to necessarily take a loss as an investor. We can provide education instead. Can that be applied to past years? Honestly, I'm not 100% sure if that could be applied to past years. I don't believe so, but it never hurts to ask. In real estate, we ask for it all. The worst they can say is no. The worst they can say is no. So those are two of the homestead tax credits for homeowners and renters. There's also, I know someone asked about what about for landlords? For landlords, really, when we talk about tax credits for landlords, we're talking about on the front end before you start doing work, how you do your renovations to get tax credits. So we talk a lot about historic tax credits. So usually as an investor, they're like, you're the reason why all these properties are increasing in value. So there's not as much, but yeah, so you definitely want to make sure that you're taking advantage of those types of things. I'm interested in joining NextGen. Awesome. So hopefully for those of you who are interested in NextGen, again, shout out. I saw all the hashtag NextGen takeovers. What up, fam? Go charmcitybuyers.com/NextGen. Has more information about our mentorship program and the application to join and a whole bunch of other information as well. So go charmcitybuyers.com/NextGen. Now, in Baltimore City specifically, again, when we're talking about affordability, there is a huge movement to create permanently affordable housing. There's a huge movement to create permanently affordable housing. And that is through a few different opportunities through Baltimore City, through funding that they provide, as well as organizations or nonprofits known as land trusts, where they have deed restrictions that make sure that properties are staying affordable forever. Literally, they're 99-year contracts to remain affordable housing. Well, we have worked with a nonprofit to do exactly that. And so we also wanted to make sure that folks know and understand that there are affordable home ownership opportunities in the city. So we'll be actually sharing more about a property that we helped to do in partnership with a land trust in the city. And we want to make sure that we're getting the right buyers for the property. So if you like our after pictures and you like the countertops and how great the kitchens look and all those types of things, we actually have a property right now in Baltimore where we're looking for a buyer. You have to be at what's called 50% of AMI. So the average median income in the city. So you have to be at 50% AMI. But if you know someone who is ready to be a homeowner, but maybe does not have, the highest income, they should be able to afford a property around the I think the property is being sold at $130,000, I believe. Hopefully Khalil will hop in here and remind me what the 50% AMI is, unless you're in the chat if you remember the max income. But we do have a property in Baltimore City that we, Charm City Buyers, developed in partnership with a nonprofit that will be permanently affordable, that we're looking for someone in Baltimore City who wants to own and wants to own in a space where, you're able to, again, live in some of these neighborhoods that are transitioning super fast and, wants to have the opportunity to live in a house that's beautiful with brand new everything. So we're looking for folks. So if you know someone who's looking to buy in Baltimore City, please, please, please DM us, email us at support@charmcitybuyers.com. We're looking for you. We're hoping to get someone housed as soon as possible because we cannot wait to make sure that we're getting the right folks in the door. So there's tons of affordable housing options and opportunities. We're totally excited to be working with folks to do that in the city, and working with the city housing department and everything. But yeah, so the requirements is that your income is at or less than 50% AMI, so that you can buy this property. There are tons of incentives. So we talk about incentives all the time. So there is CHAP, which is the incentive that keeps your taxes low. So the taxes are super low on this property. And there's actually an additional tax credit that will actually give the buyer I think it's $20,000 refund tax time. So that means that come tax time, you file your taxes, you're going to get an extra check. So there's a huge opportunity. Yeah, I was hoping that I could get Khalil. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find it. Hey, Khalil. What's 50% AMI? You don't remember? Okay. So I can't remember it exactly because it changes every year. So Chloe's going to look it up really quickly so we can define it out for you and make sure we're clear on that. But yeah, so in Baltimore City, we are selling a house that will be permanently affordable. So we want to make sure we're getting the right folks in the door to take advantage. But the property will be $130,000. We'll be sharing more about it. But there's tons of, like I said, tons of opportunities to keep things affordable and to make sure that folks are able to stay in their neighborhoods. And that's really what it's all about, is making sure that people can stay in the neighborhoods and be part of the communities as they grow and develop, be able to stay in your own hood. So if you guys have questions, definitely drop them in. We can start chit-chatting a little bit as we're pulling the exact AMI. I know I saw some on here in a little bit. Talked about landlords. So yeah, so Chloe's pulling up the average median income. Any opportunities for out-of-state buyers in Baltimore in general? Yeah, there's tons of opportunities to for out-of-state buyers, especially when it comes to rehab incentives. So the rehab incentives for out-of-state buyers are going to be really along the lines of historic tax credits. So being able to take advantage of those historic tax credits means that you can keep your own taxes lower based on how you do your renovation. So that means, let's say you buy a house for $20,000 and the taxes are $100 a year when you buy it. You renovate it and now it's worth $200,000 and your taxes are now $4,000 a year, right? Rather than increasing your taxes from $100 to $4,000, that historic tax credit might keep your taxes at about $500 a year. So that means that you're going to get an extra $3,500 per year in extra cash flow as an owner. And so that is $35,000 over the life of that CHAP tax credit. Does CHAP work for a multi? Absolutely, yes, it does. I may have missed it, but what is the property address? The property address is 520 North Luzerne. 520 North Luzerne. So yeah, we're super excited to get that one sold, hoping that we can share it with all of you. So whether it's you or a friend or a friend of a friend, we're really looking forward to making sure that this property right there in McElderry Park, which is an area a few blocks from Patterson Park, not too far from Johns Hopkins, a neighborhood that's seen a lot of increase in property value over the years. And is really slated to continue to grow, that we were able to create this permanently affordable housing option for folks in the city. So we're super excited about that. How hard or easy is it to keep up with the property once it's under your name? It's not hard. I mean, we're here, but in general, as long as you're doing what you need to do, it shouldn't be hard to keep up with the property. We don't sit on vacants, right? I think sometimes people get amped up about $5,000 houses. Like, hey, I have $5,000. Let me buy this house, and don't do anything with it. Don't do renovations or anything like that. So if you're just sitting on a vacant house, it's probably a little bit harder to manage because you don't know what's happening from day to day. You don't got electricity, you ain't got no security system. So that's not really our ministry. But yes, I'm not 100% sure if that answers your question. But once you buy a property, the way we do it in our next gen, with our next gen folks, you get a property, you get to work. So once you're getting to work, it's about managing the process, managing the team, and getting things over the line. How do you spell the street name? So actually, just to let you all know, this property is not listed yet. So let's be very clear. This property isn't listed yet. So if you have more questions, DM us so that we can help guide you along the way and make sure that you're able to go through that process and make sure you qualify and all those good things. So making sure you connect. We do have a lender lined up for the right person. We have all the pieces together. So really, it's just about finding the right people and able to come in and take advantage of the opportunity to live in this permanently affordable home developed by Charm City buyers right around the way, and be able to, really come in, get this tax credit, have, these low payments, really put yourself on the right track. So, you're able to stay here and move on to your next adventure. I would like to buy and hold and rent out to Section 8. What are the Section 8 requirements? Section 8 is going to require that they actually have a lot of requirements. Section 8, their inspection is no joke. A lot of times their inspection is more than Baltimore City inspection, and they're going to require that you do not have more than a few vacants on the same block. So Section 8 is not playing with y'all. You definitely, I think some people think Section 8 is kind of low hanging fruit. I don't know why they think that. That you're just going to be able to come in and put anybody in a property because they're on Section 8. That is definitely not the case. I live 2 blocks from 520 North Luzerne. I personally. Yeah. So you, that's fine. You already live over there. Live your life. Yeah, they are very strict. Exactly. They sure are. How hard is it to manage the renovation if you do not live in Baltimore? That's all about your team. So you're going to want to make sure that you are managing your team. You're going to want to make sure that you are, you're getting the right people. You're going to want to make sure that you're getting the right people right there in the door. So you want to make sure that your team is good so that you are working with the right folks, especially if you're out of state. So your team is everything when you're out of state. So back to your AMI. So one thing that's really important with your AMI is your household size, right? So when you are, if it's just you, then your income can't be more than $33,250. If your household size has 2 people, you can't make more than $38,000. If your house is 3 people, you can't make more than $42,750. So it is a sliding scale. So that is the 50% AMI. And then in regards to, because the comment about the address on Luzerne kind of threw me off, but let's just have a quick conversation about how we think about our own neighborhoods, right? So although when you're in and from and living in some of these spaces, you may not see opportunity. A lot of people do, right? And so when you think about McElderry Park, you also have to know that there has been developers scooping up properties in droves to develop them. So if we're not creating affordable housing in these neighborhoods now, your friends, your cousins, and your aunties will not afford to live here very soon. Patterson Park can only be so close to the park before it starts to expand and envelop all of McElderry Park. Johns Hopkins and all the areas that it owns and has can only be in that close proximity for so long before it grows and develops. It will eat McElderry Park, right? And so the $130,000 house in Luzerne has an island, has a full finished basement with an extra bedroom and full bathroom. It is 4 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms in that property. So you don't see that a lot of places, and you won't see that in a lot of places, especially now. And so being able to create affordable housing in these neighborhoods and seeing the opportunity in our neighborhoods first is critical. So, and as you know, there's properties over in that area selling for $170,000 easy. So 130 actually is very affordable. And not only that, the buyer is going to get a tax credit at closing time of $20,000 cash. And it has $10,000 vacant to value, and it has a tax credit. So yeah, the value is definitely there. You're so correct. I no longer live in Baltimore, but I definitely invest in properties in Baltimore, as you should. What zip codes should I focus on for opportunity zones? Remember, in Baltimore, we do not talk zip codes because there are 278 neighborhoods and all of them within, not that many zip codes. So zip codes are very, very big. They encompass lots of neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods can be very block to block. So you want to make sure that you are diving down way deeper. If someone's talking about Baltimore and talking about Baltimore neighborhoods and Baltimore opportunities, and they're talking about zip codes, I would kind of side eye how much they might really know. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So we don't talk in zip codes, we talk about neighborhoods. And then in regards to opportunity zones, yes, opportunity zones are great to think about riding potential waves of development. Because a lot of times when folks are looking to develop in the city, they're going to be thinking about opportunity zones, right? So when you think about big money coming into the city, big money is going to want to leverage opportunity zones to get the biggest bang for their buck, right? So that is great. Remember that as an individual, if you're investing in opportunity zones, unless you're investing in an opportunity zone through a qualified opportunity zone fund, you ain't getting no tax credits from the opportunity zone program. Let's be very clear about how opportunity zones work. And so I always just like to remind that when people just bring up opportunity zones, because a vast majority of folks are not positioned to take advantage of the opportunity zone program as it is written. Indirectly, you can take advantage because you can ride somebody else's wave. We talk about following the money. So you can ride someone else's wave, but for the most part, opportunity zones don't mean much to most people other than trying to figure out where other people might be trying to invest. I love the way y'all address the opportunity comment question every single time. Oh, thank you. Cause you know what? I had to take a breath. Yes, I did. Is it true that construction is cheaper? 1 second. Something's going on with my internet. Is it true that construction is cheaper during the winter? No, it is not. No, it is not true that construction is cheaper during the winter. That would be categorically false. So I just wanted to come on and talk about those 2 options for the homestead tax credit, one for owners, one for renters. I wanted to let you guys know that we have this permanently affordable property that will be coming online very soon, that we want to make sure that if possible, if we have someone in our network that follows us, whatever, who is positioned to take advantage of becoming a homeowner, take advantage of how we structured that property and that deal, get that refund through one of the tax credits. If you have, like we said, if it's a single household, which again, it's 4 bedrooms, 2 full baths, so that would be a pretty nice house for single. But if it's a single person moving in, it's $33,250 is the 50% AMI. If it's 2 people moving in, $38,000. 3 people moving in, $42,750. 4 people moving in, you have to make less than $47,450. So we are very excited to provide that opportunity within Baltimore, number 1. And number 2, if I can get my fingers together, number 2, we want to make sure that as long as we are developing in these communities, and as long as there's a huge push, right? And there'll be a whole nother video about this, but this whole $500 billion that is supposedly going to be routed through Black communities. You have to know and understand what that means and what that looks like. And so making sure that we know and understand how to keep things affordable for our aunties, our grandparents, our cousins, and our friends in these neighborhoods that may be on more fixed income or whomever, right? Whatever. If you qualify for any of this stuff, you need to apply regardless. Number one. And number two, that we're creating these affordable, permanently affordable options in and around the same areas that we're doing market rate development so that we can have mixed income neighborhoods that look and feel and vibe the same way, because we want to make sure we keep the charm in Charm City. So with that, I hope y'all have a great night. Thanks for joining, and we'll talk soon. Bye.